A long time ago in Amala village, a little village surrounded by tall trees and sparkling rivers, there lived a beautiful young princess named Ola. Her beauty was like the golden rays of the sun, and her kindness made everyone adore her. But it was her smile, a magical, warm smile that could melt the hardest of hearts, that truly made her special. Every year, Amala village celebrated the Grand Ofala festival, a time of colorful dances, music, and joyous laughter. This year, something extraordinary happened. A young, handsome prince named Obi traveled from a distant kingdom to witness the festival. When the maidens of Amala paraded through the village in their elegant attire, Prince Obi's eyes caught sight of Princess Ola. Her beauty and grace were unlike anything he had ever seen. His heart raced. He couldn't take his eyes off her. That night, he told his father, "She is the one. I must marry her." Soon, a royal delegation was sent to Amala to arrange a wedding between Prince Obi and Princess Ola. Their love blossomed like a flower, pure and sweet. They met secretly by the riverside near the royal bathing place, where they laughed, shared dreams, and promised each other forever. But not far away, hidden in the bushes, an ugly monitor lizard watched. Its scaly skin glistened in the moonlight, and its cold, greedy eyes burned with envy. The lizard had magical powers. It could take the shape of a human. And it, too, had fallen in love. Not with Princess Ola, but with the handsome Prince Obi. "I will have him," the lizard whispered to itself, its voice low and menacing. "No matter what it takes." The wedding day approached, and the air buzzed with excitement. The morning before the grand ceremony, Princess Ola and her maidens went to the river to bathe. The water sparkled under the rising sun, and the girls sang happily as they splashed around. Suddenly, the ugly monitor lizard appeared by the riverbank, disguised as an old, harmless woman. It hobbled closer, pretending to admire the princess. "Ah, Princess Ola," it said in a raspy voice, "your beauty is like the morning sun. May I come closer to see your radiant face?" The kind-hearted princess, unaware of the danger, smiled and said, "Yes, you may." As soon as the lizard came close, it spat a strange, sticky liquid into the princess's eyes. Before anyone could scream, a magical transformation began. Princess Ola's lovely face twisted and changed. Her smooth skin turned rough, her bright eyes dulled, and her smile vanished. The monitor lizard then shifted into Princess Ola's exact form. It looked just like her. "Now, I am you," the lizard hissed, its voice cold and cruel. "The prince is mine. You will come with me to the palace, but not as a bride, as my slave. Speak a single word, and I will destroy you." The real Princess Ola, now unrecognizable, wept silently as the monster forced her to follow. The royal procession arrived to take Princess Ola to Prince Obi's kingdom. The villagers cheered, thinking their beloved princess was heading to her happily ever after. The false princess smiled, waving gracefully, while the real Ola, dressed as a servant, walked behind, her head bowed in shame and sorrow. When they reached the palace, Prince Obi was overjoyed to see his bride. But something felt different. "Your smile," he said softly to the false princess. "It doesn't shine the way it used to." The lizard, pretending to be shy, quickly changed the subject. "Oh, my prince," it said, "it must be the excitement of the journey. Let us prepare for the wedding feast." The real Princess Ola was given rags to wear and was forced to scrub the palace floors. Every night, she cried, her tears mixing with the soapy water. She prayed for a way to reveal the truth, but the lizard's threat haunted her, "Speak a word, and I will kill you." After the wedding, the royal maidens, including the disguised lizard and the real princess, traveled to Prince Obi's kingdom. It was a long journey through forests and hills. Along the way, the real princess carried heavy loads, her feet sore and her heart heavy. When they arrived at the palace, the monitor lizard enjoyed every luxury of being a queen, fine clothes, delicious food, and a golden bed. Meanwhile, the real princess was forced to work as a servant, cleaning floors, fetching firewood, cooking, and doing most chores in the house. The days after the grand wedding were filled with laughter and celebration. But soon, something strange began happening in the royal palace. The milk, the palace's most treasured supply, was vanishing. No matter how many cows were milked, the jars remained empty. The queen was furious. This has never happened before. Someone is stealing the milk, and I will find out who it is. She called for a meeting with her most trusted servants and guards. The milk theft started when the new princess arrived, she said, narrowing her eyes. This is no coincidence. I will catch the culprit myself. Early the next morning, the queen devised a clever plan. She placed a large pot of milk in the palace courtyard and summoned the new princess, who was actually the monitor lizard in disguise, and her maidens. All of you must jump over this pot of milk, the queen commanded. The guilty one will be revealed. The maidens exchanged confused glances but obeyed. One by one, they gracefully leaped over the pot, and nothing happened. Finally, it was the monitor lizard's turn. The disguised princess hesitated. Her hands trembled, and sweat began to bead on her forehead. I can't jump, the lizard stammered, clutching her stomach. I feel unwell. Perhaps I should rest. The queen's eyes narrowed. Nonsense. If you are unwell, then this jump will prove your innocence. The disguised princess tried to argue, but the queen had had enough. She picked up a long whip and cracked it in the air. Jump, or face the whip, the queen commanded, her voice echoing through the courtyard. Trembling, the monitor lizard had no choice. She crouched low, preparing to jump over the pot. As she leaped, the unthinkable happened, the net tied around her tail unraveled, and her long, scaly tail shot out. The tail dipped into the pot of milk, sucking it up greedily. Gasps of horror erupted from everyone in the courtyard. Look! The princess has a tail, one of the maidens shouted. As the truth was exposed, the monitor lizard's magic began to fade. Its human form melted away, revealing the ugly, scaly creature underneath. At the same time, the real Princess Ola, dressed in rags and standing silently in the background, began to glow. Her beauty returned in an instant. Her face lit up, her smile reappeared, and she looked more radiant than ever. Guards! Seize the monster, the queen shouted. The monitor lizard, now in its original form, hissed loudly and scrambled to escape. The royal guards chased it through the courtyard, but the creature was fast. It leaped over walls and ran through gardens, heading straight for the nearest river. The real Princess Ola watched, her heart pounding. Would the monster escape? Would justice be served? The monitor lizard dived into the river and disappeared beneath the water's surface. The guards searched for hours but found no sign of it. Let it run, the queen said. It will never set foot in this palace again. 3 market days later, the palace was filled with celebration once more. Prince Obi and the real Princess Ola were married in a grand ceremony. The villagers sang and danced, their hearts full of joy. The prince held his bride's hand tightly as they stood before the cheering crowd. You are my one true love, he said. Nothing will ever come between us again. After their beautiful wedding, Prince Obi and Princess Ola settled into a life of happiness. The kingdom was peaceful and the palace was filled with laughter. But there was one thing missing, the sound of children's voices. As the months passed, the princess began to notice something that made her heart ache. She wasn't able to conceive. She tried not to worry at first, but with each passing season, the silence in the palace grew louder. The rooms that once echoed with joy felt emptier. For 3 long years, Princess Ola prayed every night. She knelt by her bed, whispering to the gods, asking them to bless her and Prince Obi with a child. She wanted to hear the pitter-patter of little feet in the halls, the joyful cries of a baby. But no matter how much she prayed, nothing changed. One day, as the sun set behind the mountains, the king summoned Prince Obi to his chamber. The king was a wise and powerful man, but his face was full of concern. Obi, my son, the king said in a low voice. It has been 3 years now, and there is still no child. The kingdom needs an heir. Without one, our family's future is uncertain. Perhaps it is time for you to take another wife. Prince Obi's heart sank. He loved Princess Ola with all his soul, and the thought of taking another wife was impossible. He shook his head firmly. Father, he said, his voice steady, I will not take another wife. The gods have their own time, and when the time is right, they will bless us with a child. I believe in them, and I believe in my wife." But the king was not convinced. "But Obi, the kingdom needs an heir. Your mother and I cannot wait forever. Think of the future." That night, as the moon rose high in the sky, Princess Ola lay in her bed, unable to sleep. She stared at the ceiling, her heart heavy with the weight of her sorrow. She knew how much the king wanted grandchildren. She could hear the whispers of the palace servants, wondering if something was wrong with her. They all thought it was her fault. She couldn't bear the thought of disappointing Prince Obi, but every time she saw his worried face, a tear would fall from her eyes. She slipped out of bed and knelt by the window. The soft glow of the moonlight bathed her in a silver light as she whispered into the night air. "O mighty gods, please hear my prayers. Bless us with a child. I am ready. I have loved my husband with all my heart. Please, grant us a baby. Our kingdom is waiting. I am waiting." She closed her eyes and held her breath, hoping her prayers would be heard. But the silence of the night only deepened her sorrow. Just as Princess Ola wiped away a tear, she felt a warm hand on her shoulder. It was Prince Obi. He had heard her quiet sobs and had come to comfort her. He gently lifted her chin and looked into her eyes with love. "Do not cry, my love," he whispered. "I know it is hard. But we will not give up hope. The gods are kind, and they will not forsake us. Together, we will wait for the right moment." Princess Ola's heart swelled with love for him. "But what if the time never comes? What if we are meant to remain childless?" she asked, her voice trembling. Prince Obi knelt beside her, taking her hands in his. "You are the light of my life. Whether or not we have children, you are everything to me. The gods will bless us when the time is right. I will wait as long as it takes, as long as I am with you." Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. The pressure from the king continued to grow, but Prince Obi refused to listen. He stayed by Princess Ola's side, offering her comfort and love. One rainy evening, when the sky was dark and filled with thunder, Princess Ola walked alone in the palace garden. The sound of the raindrops hitting the leaves echoed through the night. As she walked beneath the large, ancient tree where she and Prince Obi had first confessed their love, she whispered once more to the gods. "Please, I beg you. I don't want to see him sad. I don't want to disappoint him." Just as she finished speaking, a soft voice, like the rustling of leaves, seemed to answer. Ola turned quickly, but there was no one there. The wind howled, and the rain began to pour harder, but something inside her told her that the gods had heard her prayers. That night, as Princess Ola slept, she dreamed a dream unlike any other. In the dream, the goddess of fertility appeared to her in a glowing robe, her face kind and gentle. "Princess Ola," the goddess said, "your heart is pure, and your love for Prince Obi is true. The time will come soon, when you and the prince will welcome a child into the world. But remember, sometimes the gods wait for the right moment, when everything is ready. The waiting is part of the journey." Princess Ola woke with a start, her heart racing. Was it a dream, or had the goddess truly spoken to her? She felt a sense of peace settle over her as she glanced over at Prince Obi, sleeping peacefully beside her. The next morning, she went to the temple to thank the gods, feeling a spark of hope flicker in her heart. As the days passed, Princess Ola felt a change in herself. Her prayers became more hopeful, and she stopped worrying. She and Prince Obi spent time together, laughing and talking, enjoying each other's company without the weight of expectation. Then, one day, when the sun was bright and the birds were singing, Princess Ola felt a sudden, unexpected change within her. She felt a warmth in her heart, a feeling she hadn't experienced before. "Obi," she whispered to her husband, I think I may be carrying our child." Prince Obi's eyes widened with joy. "Are you sure?" Princess Ola smiled, her eyes sparkling. "I feel it, Obi. I feel it in my heart." The couple embraced, their hearts full of hope once more. The gods had listened to their prayers, and a new chapter of their story was about to begin. For years passed since Princess Ola had heard the sweet whispers of the gods, and now, one bright morning, a joyful cry echoed through the palace. Princess Ola, with a smile as bright as the sun, rushed to tell Prince Obi. "I have some news for you," she said, her voice trembling with excitement. Prince Obi looked at her with wide eyes, his heart racing. "What is it, my love?" I think I'm going to have twins," she said, holding her stomach. Prince Obi could hardly believe it. He had waited so long for this moment, and now, the gods were blessing them with not one, but 2 children. Twins? "Oh, Ola, this is the best news ever." He embraced her tightly, his heart filled with joy. The entire palace rejoiced at the news. The queen, now a grandmother, ordered that Princess Ola be given everything she needed. She made sure Ola didn't have to do anything stressful and surrounded her with royal helpers. The royal chefs made special meals, and the best healers in the kingdom watched over her, ensuring that the pregnancy went smoothly. Princess Ola rested most of the time, but she couldn't help but smile when she felt the tiny kicks of her little ones growing inside her. Sometimes, at night, she would lay awake, imagining what they would look like. Would they have Prince Obi's handsome face? Or would they have her bright smile? 9 months later, on a peaceful evening, Princess Ola's time had come. She was ready to bring her babies into the world. The sun had set, and the moon was just starting to rise, casting a soft glow over the palace. Prince Obi stayed by her side, holding her hand, his heart pounding with excitement. "I'm right here, my love," he whispered. "Everything will be all right. The gods are with us." The royal healers worked quietly, moving swiftly and gently, making sure everything was prepared. The queen stood at the door, praying silently. Everyone in the palace waited in anticipation, for they knew this was the moment they had all been waiting for. After a long night of waiting, the sound of babies crying filled the air. Princess Ola smiled, exhausted but overjoyed. She had done it. She had brought their children into the world. Prince Obi gazed down at the tiny bundles in his arms, his eyes filled with tears. In one arm, he held a boy, his little hands clenched tightly into fists. In the other arm, a girl, her eyes closed in peaceful sleep. "They are perfect," Prince Obi whispered. "Perfect in every way." Princess Ola looked at her babies with wonder. They were truly a miracle, and her heart swelled with love for them. The royal healers placed the babies on her chest, and she kissed their foreheads gently. "We will give them the best life," she said softly to Prince Obi. "I promise." The king, overjoyed by the arrival of his grandchildren, declared that there would be a grand feast to celebrate the birth of the twins. It was a night of joy, music, and laughter. The entire kingdom was invited to the palace to share in the happiness of the royal family. The palace was decorated with colorful banners and golden lanterns, lighting up the night sky. There was a table full of delicious foods, roasted meats, fresh fruits, sweet cakes, and rivers of honeyed drinks. Music filled the air as musicians played joyful tunes, and dancers twirled in celebration. Prince Obi and Princess Ola stood on the balcony, holding their twins, showing them to the cheering crowd below. The people clapped and cheered, their voices rising into the night. "Obiajalu and Ikena," the king shouted proudly. "The future of our kingdom." Princess Ola's heart was full as she looked out at the happy faces. After all the waiting, all the prayers, this moment was more beautiful than she had ever imagined. As the night wore on and the feast continued, something magical happened. The sky, which had been clear all evening, suddenly filled with soft, twinkling stars. A gentle breeze blew through the palace, and for a moment, the air felt warm and peaceful. Everyone turned to the sky in awe. "It's the gods," a wise elder whispered. "They are blessing us with their favor." Prince Obi and Princess Ola looked at each other, their hearts overflowing with gratitude. They knew this was a sign that the gods were pleased with their family and their kingdom. As the night came to an end, Princess Ola and Prince Obi retired to their chambers, holding their newborns close. The world felt right, as though all the pieces had finally come together. Princess Ola smiled as she gazed down at her children. "This is only the beginning," she whispered. "We will love them, guide them, and protect them, just as the gods have protected us." Prince Obi kissed her forehead and nodded. "Together, we will raise them to be kind, wise, and strong. Our kingdom's future is bright with Obiajalu and Ikena." And so, as the stars shone brightly above the palace, a new chapter began for the royal family. The long wait was over, and the future was filled with hope, love, and endless possibilities. The kingdom would thrive, and the people would tell stories of the miracle twins for generations to come. The couple ruled their kingdom with kindness and wisdom, their story remembered as a tale of courage, love and truth. And they lived happily ever after.